I'm finally ready to display my first map in an Android app. I'm working in a project named First Map that already has the permissions, the API key, and everything else. If you've gone to this project, make sure that you've opened the manifest and pasted your API key into place. Now I'm going to create a new layout file. This will go under the Resources folder under Layout, and I'll go to that folder in my project window. I'll right-click on Layout and choose New Layout Resource File, and I'll name it activity_map. Set the root element to fragment, lowercase, and then click OK. Then go to text mode so you're looking at the XML text of the layout file. If you're working in the newer version of Android Studio 1.3 or later, you might see this preview window. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't work really well right now with this fragment. So I'm just going to close that window and I'll get a little bit more room for code. Then I'll also reformat my code to make it a little bit more readable, and then I'll add a few elements to it. First, I'll add another XML namespace with XML NS:, and I'll assign a namespace prefix of map. And I'll give it a value of http://, and then I'll use the res auto namespace that appears. I'm not going to use that XML namespace prefix immediately, but I'll need it later in the course. Next, I'll add an ID. I'll use the usual prefix of @+ID, and I'll give this a simple ID of just map. Then I'll set the name of the class that I'm using. I'll use the name attribute, and I'll type in com.google.android.gms.maps, and then support map fragment. There are actually two different versions of this fragment class. The map fragment class, without the word support, works on versions of Android starting with Android 3 or Honeycomb, when the Fragments API was introduced. But the support map fragment class that I'm using lets you build mapping applications that are backward compatible all the way back to Gingerbread or Android 2.3. Now that's all I need. I'll clean up this code a little bit using empty tag syntax instead of start and end syntax, and then I'll go to my main activity class. In my main activity class, I have a call to set content view that's loading my default activity layout, activity_main. I'm going to refactor this code a bit. First, I'll go to the conditional logic that's calling my services OK method. And if I'm told that the services are available, then I'll load my new activity layout. I'll make a copy of this code, calling setContentView, and I'll paste it in here, and I'll change from activity_main to activity_map. Then I'll create an else block here, and I'll take this code that's setting the layout to activity_main, and I'll move it within this conditional block. So now my logic is, if my Google Play Services APK is available, then I'll go ahead and try to display a map. But if it isn't, then I'll go back to my default layout and just show the words Hello World. And I'll run the app. I'll click my Run button, wait a few moments for the app to build, and then I'll choose my device that's connected to my computer. In my case, a Nexus 6. And there's the result, a map of the North and South Atlantic Oceans and the continent of Africa. Now, I can move the map horizontally and vertically with one finger. Notice when I touch the screen, you can see where my finger is landing. And I'll drag to the right, to the left, and up and down. I can also zoom in on the map by touching with two fingers and pinching or moving my fingers outward. I can rotate the map with two fingers, and I can also put two fingers next to each other and then drag upward, and that tilts the map back and forth. So what you've achieved already is really a map of the entire world. If the map isn't working for you, here are some things to check. Make sure that you put in your APK key into the manifest. Also make sure that all of the permissions are spelled exactly right. Just a single letter out of place can cause a problem, and it is case sensitive. And especially if you're seeing a blank screen, check your logcat output. The logcat output contains incredibly useful information about what might be going on in the background with the map. If you have any problems, You might find some information there that can help you figure out what's going on. Now I have a riddle for you. I'm going to close the app, and then from the home screen, I'll go to my list of running apps, and then I'll touch the X icon to close the app. I'll then come back to my home screen, and I'll go to my list of apps, and I'll locate my app right here, named My Apps, and I'll drag its launcher icon to my home screen. Then I'll run it again from scratch. Each time the app opens, it opens to a particular location on the planet. It shows the center of the map right around Gabon and the Congo. So what's special about that location? I'll answer that question and describe a lot of other things you can do with this map in the next chapter of this course.